What is up, fellas? We are back for another UFC predictions video. This time for UFC Fight Night Paris, Moicano versus Saint Denis. Guys, we've got a nice fight night card this weekend, and I'm going to be breaking down every single fight on the card and giving you guys my pick and prediction. Let's jump right into it, fellas. Kicking us off at a lightweight, Balaji Oki versus Chris Duncan. This is a pretty good first prelim to open the card. Both of these guys are pretty decent lightweight prospects. I don't know if you can hear that. There's a train. I'm gonna I'm gonna act like you can't hear that, and I'm gonna keep going. Both of these guys are really good lightweight prospects. Um, kind of. Um, Not so much Chris Duncan. Balaji Oki was coming into the UFC with a lot of hype in his fight against Timothy Kawamba. Did not deliver quite so well. Timothy Kawamba gave him a very hard fight, I believe up a weight class as well, so it wasn't the best look. Chris Duncan's a guy who seems to have pretty solid skills all around as far as grappling, striking goes. But I think his largest deficit in this fight is I just think he's going to be a step behind Balaji Oki. What Balaji Oki was able to show against Timothy Kawamba was really, really good speed. He didn't necessarily drop Kawamba with anything big, but he just looked a lot faster than him in a lot of engagements. And in all honesty, Timothy Kawamba is an incredibly fast guy. I just think Balaji Oki is going to have a speed advantage on the feet of Chris Duncan. I don't think Chris Duncan's really going to have a good enough takedown entry to get Oki to the ground. Um, on the feet, I think it could be competitive just because Duncan's a real tough guy. He's got decent power, and he's got good skills as well. I just think Oki's just a little bit faster, and I think that might be the difference maker when they're getting in exchanges on the feet. Chris Duncan, I think, is a decent underdog here, um, but I am going to go with Balaji Oki here. I don't think he's going to finish Chris Duncan. Chris Duncan's a pretty tough guy. The only guy I think to finish him, Borishev finished him with a nice counter left hook, and then Manuel Torres finished him. And Torres is a real finisher, so I think Oki's probably going to get himself a decision win here to open up this fight card. Moving up to women's bantamweight, Nora Cornell versus Jacqueline Cavalcanti. This is another interesting fight, mainly because Cavalcanti, I believe, is taking this on short notice. Nora Cornell was meant to be on this card, fighting someone. I can't remember who it was. I think it was J- Durandamy, right? I don't fucking remember because I didn't care. But yeah, Nora Cornhole was meant to be on this card. She had a previous opponent, so she's been in camp. And Cavalcanti has not been in camp, I don't think, and is taking this fight on short notice. But I don't know what the line is on here. It's not listed here, and I haven't really checked. I think I'm gonna go with Jacqueline Cavalcanti over Nora Cornell. I just think she's better on the feet. And I like the reach advantage. It's really that simple. Nora Cornell has some pretty decent wins in the UFC. Beating Jocelyn Edwards and Melissa Mullins aren't terrible wins. I think they're actually pretty solid wins in this women's division. I like Cavalcanti getting a win uh, over Jose Nunez. I think that's a good win. Farron is an absolute schmuck, so I don't think that really matters. But I just think she's going to be better on the feet than Nora Cornell, and I think this fight's largely going to play out on the feet. And Cavalcanti is going to be uh, the bigger, rangier lady out there. I know she took it on short notice, but I'm going to trust in her to get this win. I think by decision, honestly. Just keeping Nora Cornell at the end of her strikes. And getting 2 rounds, maybe a 29-28 decision. Maybe Cornell gets one. But yeah, I like Cavalcanti in this fight. Moving up to flyweight. Oh God, Victor. I cannot say I cannot say Victor's name to save my fucking life. Moving up to flyweight. Daniel Perez versus Victor Altamirano. God, why is that so hard for me? Um, this is an interesting fight. Daniel Perez is kind of an unknown to me, really, as far as how good he could be. It seems like whenever Daniel Perez fights like decent competition, he just loses. Like some of the guys that Daniel Perez is beating, just I mean, are absolute schmucks. Like a lot of these guys are just, I mean, what the fuck are we doing? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just not looking great. Now, on ESPN, these guys do have some wins, but they're just not listed on ESPN. But you get the point I'm trying to make. He doesn't fight a very high level of competition, and when he does, he tends to lose. Victor, on the other hand, I don't think he's a guy who's super technical at all. I don't think he's the most skilled guy in the world, but he can fight 3 rounds hard, and he's put on some decent performances. When we look at Victor here, had a very close fight against Felipe dos Santos. Like genuinely, as somebody who picked Felipe dos Santos to beat Victor, I honestly thought that Victor honestly probably could have and should have gotten the decision here. That's how close this fight was. And we know Felipe dos Santos is good because he gave Manel Kape a very competitive 3 round fight, and he gave Andre Lima a pretty competitive 3 round fight. And Victor arguably could have fucking beaten him. I'm being honest. And like this, Victor's level of competition, I just think is generally much higher. He loses to Carlos Hernandez. Despite Carlos Hernandez's record, I think he's actually a pretty technical guy and a pretty hard guy to beat a lot of the time. Lacerda's pretty bad, but he got him out of there in the first round. Vinisca Salvador, not the best, but he beat him. Tim Elliott is a hard fight for anybody in this division. I just think I'm gonna lean Victor Altamirano just because he's got experience against better fighters. He's gotten some close fights against better fighters, in my opinion. I worry about the submission threat of Beres and his takedowns, but I think Victor is good enough defensively, and I think he can scramble well enough defensively to kind of keep himself safe from Daniel Beres in this fight. He's also the bigger guy. He's got more reach. I'm not. I think he'll have a striking advantage. I'm gonna go with Victor Altamirano. I think he's gonna win a decision here, probably a 29-28. I think this could be a pretty close fight, as the line would obviously indicate. Moving up to women's bantamweight, Daria Zelezniakova versus Aylin Perez. This is kind of a 50-50 fight, despite the line being very wide, fellas. For the simple fact that Zelezniakova is a really good striker and Aylin Perez is a good grappler. So you kind of have to pick how you think this is going to go down. I think I'm going to go with what the odds are telling me, though. I think I'm going to go with Aylin Perez here in this fight just because she does have good takedowns. She's able to get ladies to the ground pretty consistently. And Daria Zelezniakova really has not shown me anything that gives me confidence in her takedown defense. I feel like Zelezniakova will be beating Perez on the feet pretty handedly, but the second the fight hits the mat, that round is cooked. I don't think Zelezniakova gets up once she gets taken down by Aylin Perez. That's my problem. Now I can see like a decent underdog pick with Zelezniakova just because I do think she's a much better striker than Aylin Perez. But I don't know if the striking deficit that Perez is operating at is as big of a deficit as the grappling deficit that Zelezniakova has, basically is what I'm saying. Um, I think Aylin Perez can keep herself safe on the feet, maybe set up some punches to get an entry and get a takedown in. And I think once she does, I think that's probably a round shaved off of the fight, basically. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Aylin Perez here. I think she's probably gonna win a decision over Daria Zelezniakova. I could see Zelezniakova maybe just out of nowhere, because this happens sometimes when you pick fights. Fighters just have the best performance of their entire career with no like signs, and it just happens. Zelezniakova maybe stops the takedown and just it beats the shit out of her on the feet, or Aylin Perez doesn't decide to shoot a takedown or something stupid like that. But I think 9 times out of 10, I think Perez can get her takedowns. I think she can win at least 2 rounds in this fight. Moving up to bantamweight, Taylor Lapilus versus Vince Morales. Vince Morales back in the UFC. He went on quite the run in the regional circuit, so good for him. This is actually a deserved fight, but it's a tricky fight to come back to. Taylor Lapilus is good in a weird way. He's just a hard guy to pin down, really. Vince Morales is a very scrappy guy, pretty skilled guy all around, okay submissions. He hit a Peruvian necktie on the regional scene, I believe, in his last fight before taking this one, which is pretty cool. Decent on the feet, very tough guy, but I just think he's going to have a hard time tracking down Taylor Lapulus. He's just a little too elusive for me, and I think giving him that 3-inch reach advantage, I think it's going to be hard for Vince Morales. Now, he's a dog and he's going to fight for all 3 rounds, but I just don't really see him. I don't know how much success he's going to have against Taylor Lapulus, in my opinion. I don't think Lapulus is going to be able to finish Vince Morales or anything. I think this is probably going to end in a decision. I think maybe Vince Morales has a moment or in one of these rounds, but I think Taylor Lapulus probably wins a 29-28 decision. I just think he's a more elusive technical striker. He's got decent enough takedown defense. He's got submissions under his belt as well. I think this is just a hard fight for Vince Morales to come back to. But hey, you never know, man. He could upset here, honestly. Like, he's looked pretty good in his last couple of fights outside of the UFC. Moving up to lightweight, Ludovic Klein versus Roosevelt Roberts. Guys, I'm going with Ludovic Klein. Roosevelt Roberts is bad. Ludovic Klein, I think, is really good. I don't really need to explain much more here. I can't see the odds, but I'm assuming Ludovic Klein would be a gigantic favorite. Looking at Ludovic Klein's record, Thiago Moises, AJ Cunningham's a bum, but Ignacio Bahamondes, really good win, aging really well. Jai Herbert draw, Mason Jones, UD. Klein's on a fucking run. He's UFC level. He's borderline ranked lightweight right now. Roosevelt Roberts, I mean, he's just not any good. I'm gonna be honest. You know, losing to Austin Hubbard, yeah, I've fucking seen enough. I'm going with Ludovic Klein. I think he's gonna get a TKO win over Roosevelt Roberts in this lightweight matchup. Moving up to light heavyweight, Omar Sy versus Daun Jung. This is an interesting fight. The line is very wide, but I think Daun Jung is a pretty decent test for Omar Sy because Daun Jung's pretty well rounded, dude. Like, he's not bad at anything really. He's got good striking, he's got good power, he's able to stop takedowns pretty well, and he's able to get his own occasionally. He gave Carlos Ulberg the hardest fight of his career outside of when he got knocked out by Kennedy Nzechukwu, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he gave Carlos Ulberg everything he could handle in this fight, honestly. But his last 3 fights, not the best. Look, Dustin Jacoby knocked him out. Dustin Jacoby hasn't been doing too great as of late. He lost to Devin Clark, which, Devin Clark's not in the UFC anymore, but Devin Clark is, big athletic guy. But the thing is, he's a grappler. He'll mix in his takedowns. And Omar Sy, man, this guy seems pretty fucking good, dude. He's really able to get the fight to the ground at will. He's got good ground and pound. He's got good submissions, very good submissions, and he's just a freak as far as like genetics go for fighting. 6'4", 83-inch reach, man. That's insane. Although I think Daun Jung is pretty good, pretty well-rounded, and can give Omar Sy some problems, I think once Omar Sy gets to Daun Jung's hips, I think he will get him down, and I think he will probably submit Daun Jung in like round 1 or 2. And if he does, man, this Omar Sy guy, I think is probably going to get like a ranked fight next. I think if you beat Daun Jung, you might get like a 15 or something. But yeah, interesting prospect at the light heavyweight division, and I think he's going to win. I think he'll get a submission over Daun Jung. Moving up to light heavyweight, Iwan Kutelaba versus Ivan Ersan. It's a Kutelaba fight, guys. I don't know what's gonna happen. He's the favorite. Can I trust a Kutelaba favorite anymore? Can we do that? Can we trust that anymore, guys? I don't think so. I think I'm gonna go with the underdog in Ivan Ersan. Mostly because I don't trust Iwan Kutelaba. I just can't. And I say this, and he'll probably go out there and chin this guy, but he's just too inconsistent, man. Like, I just don't trust him in fights. I think he'll win. He'll just lose. Like, Felipe Lins is fucking ass, man. Felipe Lins sucks. Kennedy Nzechukwu lost to fucking Oven St. Preux. Johnny Walker's chin is made out of paper mache. Like, I don't trust this guy at all. I don't trust him. Whereas Earl Son, he's taken some losses kind of recently, but this guy's a finisher. This guy's got power, you know, and he's not losing to absolute bums. You know what I mean? This says 6-3. He's got. I think when I pulled up his Tapology, his record was like 19-5. Like it's not that bad as it looks. ESPN leaves out some fights on these guys' records, but I'm just gonna go with Earl Son. He's coming off of a win, first round KO, 10-1 to the knockout. I don't know if Ewan's gonna TKO him. Maybe Ewan gets a takedown and ground and pounds him or something. Could happen. I don't know. I don't trust Ewan at all. I'm going with Earl Son. I think he's going to get Kutelaba out of there in the first round. I think he's just going to catch him with a big shot, and Kutelaba's just going to show up and not be able to recover from it. Which I hate to say because I kind of like Kutelaba, and I've picked him in some of those fights that he's lost, and I don't trust him anymore. That's mainly where he has the skills to beat this guy, like 8 out of 10 times. I don't trust him for a fucking second. Um, moving up to lightweight, Faris CM versus Matt Frevola. Guys, call me crazy. Am I smoking dick here? Why is Matt Frevola an underdog in this fight? I think Faris CM sucks. Like, I think Faris CM is trash, actually. Like, am I crazy? Like, am I crazy? Luigi Vendramini to a decision. Terrence McKinney subbing you in round 1. You know? Claudio Puelles, we're taking a leg lock merchant to a split decision. This guy can only roll for your foot. How are you taking him to a split decision? The Jai Herbert win, really good. Figlak win, solid. But there's like performances here that are fucking scary that I don't like. And when we look at Matt Frevola, 34, not the youngest guy in the world. Matt Frevola doesn't exactly have the world's best chin either. I'll throw that out there. But when we look here, that Terrence McKinney loss, fluke. I'm gonna say it, fluke. Won't have. They could fight 10 times. That they could fight 1,000 times. That shit will never happen again. KO's Atman Azaitar. When Azaitar is what, like 12-0, something crazy, 13-0. KO's him dead. KO's Drew Dober. He finished him. You know what I mean? Lost to Benoit Saint Denis. I think Benoit Saint Denis would beat Faris CM pretty fucking easily. Matt Fravola's a guy, he's got good wrestling. He's got great power. He's got fast hands and feet. And now Faris CM, much bigger guy, kickboxer as well. I just think the power of Matt Frevola is going to be the decider here, and also the grappling as well. We've seen it in fights like this one. I wanted to highlight this one. Jalen Turner, he was able to take down and control Jalen Turner at will. Now, Jalen Turner was able to scramble up a little bit, but I think Jalen Turner's grappling defense is better than Faris CM. I mean, Faris CM was in some fucking ugly engagements with Claudio Puelles. So I don't trust him just based on some of the performances he's had. Now, Frivola's had some bad performances, but it was more like just getting KO'd super fast by a 1-2 against Terrence McKinney. I think Frevola can win this fight. I think this is a winnable matchup for him. I think he can take Faris CM down. And I think if both these guys land, despite Frivola's chin not being the best, I think he's got the power to hurt ZM pretty bad. I'm going to lean Matt Frevola here. I think he's going to get a TKO win over Faris CM. I think he can get him down. I think he can land some big shots or land a big shot on the feet and then finish it on the ground. I think. As an underdog, we'll see. And I'm not saying this because he follows me on Twitter. Moving up to featherweight, Morgan Charrier versus Gabriel Miranda. Guys, I'm going with Morgan Charrier. Gabriel Miranda's okay. His striking's pretty mid. His jiu-jitsu is quite nice. But I think Morgan Charrier is just good all around. Very technical guy. Good scrambles, good takedowns himself, good takedown defense himself. I'm going to trust that he has the submission defense to stop a guy like Gabriel Miranda from latching up a neck or something. And I think on the feet, Charrier is just too good. I think Charrier is really good. He had a very good fight against Chepe Mariscal that he arguably could have and should have won. But Chepe Mariscal is really fucking good. I just think he's operating at a higher base level than a guy like Gabriel Miranda. I think Morgan Charrier here will be able to get a TKO win over Gabriel Miranda in like I'm gonna say kind of later, like rounds 2 and 3. I think he might feel out and see what Gabriel Miranda's got in the first round, and I think he'll start to come alive in rounds 2 and 3 and get himself a finish by TKO. Moving up to welterweight, God, this card is good. Kevin Jousset versus Brian Battle. This is a tricky fight for me. I'm not super confident in this one. I'm going with Brian Battle because I think he's just looked better against better competition. He beat Angelusa. Angelusa quit. Who else did we beat? We TKO'd Takashi Sato head kick. AJ Fletcher subbed him up pretty easy. Gabe Green KO'd him in 14 seconds. His only loss is to Renat Fakretnov recently. And Renat Fakretnov is a pretty tricky matchup for a lot of guys. Because he's got real weird power and really good grappling. So I don't rate that loss as too bad, honestly. Kevin Jousset, on the other hand, he's looked good in the UFC, but the level of competition we've been fighting hasn't been great. Kiefer Crosby, Song Kanan. Song Kanan looked like shit, honestly, against fucking Ricky Glenn. You know what I mean? I just. And also, a thing is, Jusei is normally kind of like a bigger guy in there. He's not really gonna be. He might be a little bit more muscular and a little taller, but I think the reach advantage for Brian Battle is gonna help him here in this matchup. And Kevin Jusei is a guy who can be caught. So can Brian Battle, but I kind of like Brian Battle in this matchup. I think he'll be able to catch Kevin Jusei coming in, maybe on a blitz or something. I think Brian Battle can counter him. Similar to a way he countered Gabe Green, but not quite as fucking stupid. Because Kevin Jousset is actually good at fighting. I think Brian Battle here, though. I think he can win this fight. I think this is going to be a pretty competitive fight. I think Brian Battle is going to win a decision over Kevin Jousset here. I think probably 29-28. I think this is going to be a close fight. I think. I don't think either guy's going to finish the other. I think they're both too technical. But I think Brian Battle will get the better of certain exchanges using his reach advantage uh, and get himself a decision in this fight. Dude, this card just keeps going. Oh my god. Moving up to featherweight, William Gomes versus Joe Anderson Brito. Guys, I'm going with Joe Anderson Brito. Gomes is a decent kickboxer, but he is too slow sometimes. Like, he will let a guy walk into him. That is a bad fucking idea when you're fighting Joe Anderson Brito, because the second this guy gets any momentum, he is snowballing and he is trying to kill you. I just think it's going to be too much for Gomes. I think he's going to get like his brain overloaded just by the amount of offense and aggression that is coming at him. Like Joe Anderson Brito, like this guy's record is fucking crazy, honestly, when you look at it. Jack Shore busted his leg up really bad. Probably didn't need to be stopped, but I mean, it looked like some guy hit Jack Shore in the fucking shin bone with an axe. John. Oh, JSP subbed him, fucking easy peasy. Weston Wilson starched him dead. Lucas Alexander subbed him. Andre Feely, he murdered him. And we can keep going. He lost to Bill Algeo. Not the best loss, but, he beat Diego Lopez. He flatlined Chepe Mariscal. This guy's fucking scary. I gotta go with Joe Anderson Brito. I just don't think Gomez is going to be able to keep Brito on the outside for very long. And I think Brito can use grappling as well as his super aggressive striking. And I think he can just be too much for Gomes here. I kind of think Brito is going to finish Gomes. I think he's going to TKO Gomes in like round 2. I just think it's going to be too much. I think he can get Gomes to the ground. And I think he's got nasty jiu-jitsu. He's got nasty ground and pound. Hyper aggressive fighter. I think it's just going to be too much for Gomes, man. Yeah, I gotta go with Joe Anderson Brito here in this matchup. I think he's just too dangerous, and I think if he gets this win, you need to give this guy a ranked fighter. Like this guy has beaten really good competition. Moving up to our co-main event at middleweight, Nasruddin Imavov versus Brendan Allen. Guys, I'm going with Nasruddin Imavov over Brendan Allen. I don't know how Brendan Allen is this high ranked in the middleweight division. Um, he just like Brendan Allen is solid. He's solid at everything, but there is nothing that he does that makes me go, "Wow, this guy's fucking good." Um, Decent stand up, gets caught in really dumb exchanges sometimes. He got caught in a dumb exchange against Chris Curtis and got himself knocked out. He arguably lost to Chris Curtis in the rematch. Um, Gassed pretty hard in that fight too, if I remember correctly. I haven't watched that fight back, but I just Imovov's a guy I think is just gonna. I think he's just gonna beat the shit out of Brendan Allen. I could be totally wrong, but I don't think Brendan Allen, despite being a pretty good grappler, I don't think he's gonna get Imavov to the ground. If he does, I'll be really surprised and really fucking impressed. Imavov, despite being basically just a kickboxer, he's got good grappling. You know, technically speaking, he's an honorary Dagestani man. You know what I mean? He's got that grappling. He's got good takedowns as well. He's able to take Chris Curtis to the ground, which is a hard thing to do, honestly. And on the feet, he was schooling Chris Curtis. On the feet against Jared Cannonier, he was looking way better than Cannonier, like 90% of the time on the feet. TKO'd him in round 4, despite what people want to say about an early stoppage. I mean, Cannonier got rocked, bad. Hit with big shots, bad. You know, Imovov's capable of doing that, and I think on the feet, I don't see. Brendan Allen's kind of like a Bilal Muhammad in the way like he's decent everywhere, but I don't see how he's like elite. I don't see it, but he keeps beating people, and it just perplexes the mind. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna go with Imavov here. I think he can stop the takedowns of Brendan Allen. We'll see about that. I think he can though. Big, strong, physical guy. I think on the feet, I think he's just a much better kickboxer, way better hand speed, way more defensively sound. And I think Brendan Allen sometimes gets caught in really fucking dumb exchanges that he shouldn't be in. And doing that against Imavov, I think you're primed for a counter hook. I'm going with Imavov. I don't know if he'll finish Brendan Allen because Brendan Allen's a pretty tough cookie, but I think he will win a decision here over Brendan Allen in this fight. This should be a good fight though. This card is fucking sick. I've said that like 9 times. I'm stoked for this card. But yeah, Imavov decision. I don't know if I said that. Moving up to our lightweight main event, Renato Money Moicano versus Benoit Saint Denis. Guys, I'm going with Benoit Saint Denis over Money Moicano. Um, Moicano's good. Good striking, great jujitsu, decent takedowns as well. Now, I'm going to preface this, guys. I'm kind of bad at picking Moicano fights. I'm going to preface this. So if you're watching this, you jump in to the end of the video. I'm saying this so you know. Don't be surprised if I get this fucking pick wrong because I have a horrible track record with picking Moicano fights. I have faded him his last 2 fights that he has won. I picked him against Brad Riddell. I picked against him against RDA. I picked against him with Drew Dober, and I picked against him with Jalen Turner. Now, that Jalen Turner pick, Jalen Turner's just retarded. We got the pick right. Jalen Turner's just dumb. Um, Drew Dober, though, Drew Dober was able to hurt him pretty bad, but Moicano was able to get Dober to the ground, and once it was there, Dober had nothing for him. Moicano is really good at floating with his jiu-jitsu. You can't really get feet on hips with Moicano. He kind of just floats over it and he can pass guard really well. But the difference here, I think, when we're talking about Benoit Saint Denis and a guy like Jalen Turner and a guy like Drew Dober, like they hurt Moicano on the feet. They don't really want to jump into Moicano's guard if he goes down. Benoit Saint Denis will, I think. And I think he's good enough with his jiu-jitsu and his grappling. I don't think a rocked Moicano potentially is going to be able to do shit with Benoit Saint Denis off his back. I don't think so. And I think on the feet, I think Moicano might actually be a more technical kickboxer than Benoit Saint Denis, but Benoit Saint Denis kind of just goes in with reckless abandon and is just constantly throwing big power shots. And I think, at 35, Moicano, his chin, I just don't like it. And I've seen some discourse talk about the Benoit Saint Denis chin being cooked. I'm not so certain that it is. It could be. It could be really bad in this fight, but I just don't think it's going to be. Because, like, what? His chin's bad because he got knocked out by Dustin Poirier? Like, you know what I'm saying? And my thing about that is you can also read into the fact that in that Poirier fight, You know, Benoit Saint Denis loaded up with antibiotics, had a staph infection the size of a fucking bullet hole on his fucking forehead. You know, he was also gassed probably by, probably pushing too high of a pace for somebody with, staph infection and being on a heavy amount of antibiotics. He got caught exchanging hooks with Dustin Poirier in the pocket. I'm not so sure his chin's cooked. This will be a fight that'll tell us, though, because Moicano's stand-up is pretty good and he's pretty technical. But I just think Benoit Saint Denis is going to get Moicano to back up against the cage. And once that happens, Benoit's just kind of a fucking a whirlwind of offense if he gets a guy up against the cage. Now, that can be to his detriment as well, because he is there to be hit in some of these exchanges. But I think if these guys go chin for chin, I think Moicano falls first. Because Moicano's taken some good damage in his career. Because he's fought. One thing I will say about Moicano, I really like him. And I'm glad he keeps winning. Because personality wise, he's awesome. This guy, Moicano, has fought in some of the best fighters in the UFC. Like, this guy's resume is elite. Seriously. Like, when you look at this guy's fucking Jose Aldo, Cub Swanson, Calvin Kattar, Brian Ortega, Korean Zombie, Demir Hadzovic, Rafael Fiziev, like, these are like, this guy's been in there with some fucking murderers, but in doing that, this guy has taken a lot of damage, and I just don't. I think Benoit Saint Denis can catch Moicano with a shot and hurt him, and I think whereas guys like Jalen Turner or Drew Dober would be apprehensive to approach the guard of a knocked down Moicano for fear of potentially getting reversed or getting submitted off of Moicano's back. I just think Saint Denis is capable enough in the grappling to where he could follow him down and finish him. It's as simple as that. Also, I gotta say this: if you were willing to pick Benoit Saint Denis against Dustin Poirier, I feel like you're obligated to pick him against Moicano. That's all I'm saying. This is a fun fight, though. I think this will be sick for as long as it lasts. I could see Moicano upsetting, maybe getting Benoit Saint Denis back if he's able to get Benoit to the ground, because Benoit does kind of stand up and give his back to get up. But I think majority time, I think Benoit Saint Denis just lands a big shot. And I think he has the ability to finish Moicano. But yeah, that's it for this card, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. We're almost at 100 subscribers. We're at 89. So don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment. Thank you guys so much. And as always, I will catch you guys next time. See ya.